All right. Happy Freedom Friday, everybody. I'm Chad, a peer support specialist down here at the Wilkes Recovery Revolution R3 Center, joined by
Justin Blackburn, the R3 Recovery Center, do transportation.
Hey, I'm George Cohen. I'm George Cohen. I guess you could say I'm just kind of an old timer around this program a little bit, and I've just been blessed to be invited to this Freedom Friday.
Freedom Friday.
Freedom Friday.
And in the spirit of Freedom Friday, we decided to come together and talk a little bit about the freedoms that recovery has afforded us. You know, long-term recovery has done a lot for my life. You know, one of the biggest ones being the freedom from the urge to use drugs or drink alcohol. But there's a lot to go with it. I'm going to open it up to you guys, and we'll kind of go from there.
Is it on me? Okay. This, if we had a long time, I could really go into this quite a bit. But first of all, exactly has to happen, I think, kind of like Chad shared with us already. Man, we got to get the booze out of the system. And then we can get into the real world a little bit. My greatest freedoms early on was, finding out who George is and then going ahead and plugging him into the real world. That has been such an exciting adventure and joy that, it just keeps me smiling all the time when I think about it. And I generally like to stay on the upside anyway. But also, there is two sides to the story too. Of course, with the freedoms comes that dreaded, a big R word for me. Man, it's called responsibility. And that's part of being in the real world and just learning to deal with it and, be a real person for a change and be there for somebody. And then, finding out that, man, life is not all about George. It's other people that are involved. And you can spread some of this joy and some of this recovery around. Whenever I get a chance to, I like to, and I guess that's one of the reasons I'm sitting here today. But it's a groovy deal, as George would say, and I could go on and on because about the freedom deal. Because in all reality, I have found, and this is a real comforting thing. One of the most important things I think I found in recovery. That with God's help and the support and love of a lot of people, including our fellowship, there isn't a darn thing in this world that can happen that we can't deal with. As simple as that. And I know that. I've been through a lot, and I look like I've probably been through a lot. I don't know. But anyway, I'm just glad to be here this afternoon, and I hope you all are having a good afternoon as I am.
Hey, George. What do you think, Justin?
Well, to build on something George said, the freedom to learn who you are. I spent 36 years really just kind of masking whatever I could, I guess, be potentially with drugs and alcohol, and had done it to the point that I never learned who I was. I knew that I was miserable. I knew I was not a nice person, but when you take the alcohol and the drugs out of the equation, I began to learn who I was. And through some wonderful advice from Mr. George here, I started that journey mostly by being nice. And that has been just a mantra for me to where it's actually become just my nature. And I'm not going to even say second nature. Like I think that I'm really becoming a nice person, and I really enjoy that. I enjoy getting to know people, and there not being a pretense of a substance being the source of that interaction. And I've it's really, I mean, I'm free to really do whatever I want. And I love it. It's been the best journey I've started in my entire life.
Awesome. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, I know for me, I can remember when I was using, my mother used to always tell me that I could do whatever I wanted to do if I would just stop drinking, doing drugs. I could literally do whatever I want to do, and I never believed her. And now that I'm actually living a life of recovery, I have that opportunity to see that she was right. Before I started doing this kind of thing, I couldn't go anywhere if I didn't have the supplies that I needed. It was hard for me to get through a day of work. Now I get to come to work and be around people and enjoy what I'm doing. I get to enjoy being around those people. It's amazing. I have the freedom to, I have the freedom to make decisions. I have the freedom to be myself. And something that I kind of build off of what you guys are talking about too, is I have the freedom to feel those negative emotions and be okay with feeling them. It doesn't have to be comfortable, but I can be okay in that uncomfortability without trying to change it. I have good days and I have bad days, but I experience all of those days in real time as a real person. I'm not experiencing those things as a shell of a human being. It's really, really awesome. I have the freedom to build real connections. One of the first really cool things that I got to do in recovery, one of the big things for me, I got invited to a friend's graduation. I told this story earlier this week, but I'm going to tell it again. I got to go to a friend's graduation. It was a college graduation. It was about a two-hour ceremony, and I can remember sitting in there completely content to be there. I don't think I've ever been to an event where I had to sit and watch people do things where I wasn't like, I don't know if I got high enough to do this. I don't know if I had enough to drink to do this. Like, I was able to sit there and be there to support somebody that I cared about. And then when it was all said and done, I got to see that person, and they were so happy that I was present for that they started crying. Like, their day was made by sharing an experience with me. And there was it wasn't, what can I get from you? What can you get from me? I don't want to be here. Like, I was legitimately able to enjoy being there and having that experience and creating joy in that person's life just by doing it. For me, as a 26-year-old man at the time, that was the first time that I had really fully experienced that type of joy and that type of influence, And I crave that type of connection. Now I enjoy being able to come in here, and I have the freedom to come in here and spend time with my friends and talk about things just by engaging in recovery, There's awesome freedom afforded to me just by engaging in recovery, And these are things that I didn't ever think I would ever be able to do ever. If you'd have asked me 3 years ago what my life was going to consist of, is I'm going to use drugs and die. I'm going to use drugs and die too early. And that's not even on my radar today. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to do what we're doing here today. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about? You got anything to add, Mr. George, Mr. Justin?
I could go on and on.
I was gonna
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like Chad just said, if you'd asked me 3 years ago what I thought my life was gonna be, it was most definitely not. I never envisioned myself really helping others and enjoying doing it. I love coming to work. I enjoy, good and bad, everything that goes on here. And it's just, it's the same way with life now. Like, you experience the bad shit, but it's not going to cause you to just go off the deep end. Like, you'll sit with those negative emotions for a little bit, and then it'll be fine. And chances are the situation wasn't as bad as you thought it was in the first place. And that's a lesson that I'm slowly learning. And I also really enjoy being able to get off work, drive home, and not have the worry of stopping by a store or contacting a dealer on the way home. It's so nice to just enjoy the drive. George?
There you go. That's it. I just, I sit here thinking, I can remember the first time an old geezer similar to me, man, I've made the whole rounds, it seemed like. I was sitting miserable in a rehab center, and this old geezer comes in. His night, I'll never forget, his name was Tom. I had 30-some years of recovery and laid all this pie in the sky razzle dazzle out to us. And I'm thinking, yeah, I've had smoke blown up my hind end before. But you just go right ahead. I think your heart's in the right place. And I Swanee, here it is. Old Tom reincarnated in George, it seems like, that has nothing but soul into this recovery effort, shall we say. And as long as I keep doing a few simple things, I have the freedom to do anything that I want to, or at least try. And I love to try new stuff. I drive people crazy with new stuff. I want to experience it. But I've never done this before. And my fantasy right now is YouTube. Man, oh man, I can find out how to do anything there. If I'd have had that 30 years ago, Lord have mercy, I might have been an entrepreneur or something like that. Just all this good stuff I'd have come up with. But today it's just plain good enough, and it's just plain fantastic. And you always hear me harping on it. For old George, I'm going to ride that updraft, and it's just another day in paradise. And I always say, and I think, and I love to do that too. I've been labeled as hippie in my home group for some reason. Well, I'm an out of towner too, but he still calls me hippie. So I give him a big peace out at the end of each meeting. So that's what I say, baby. And when in doubt, peace out. There we go.
Thanks, George. Does anybody have anything else to add?
Yeah.
All right. Happy Freedom Friday, everybody. Thanks for tuning in with us.
Thank you.